Hello there. Thank you for stopping by the channel. Today's story explores the hidden corners of the human psyche, gentle yet profound. Stay tuned, and don't forget to support the channel so you won't miss the next stories. Okay, I'll be honest, I didn't think it was that deep. I really didn't. It was supposed to be just a joke. Something harmless to get everyone laughing before the night really kicked off. But now I can't stop replaying the moment in my head. Hey, I'm Maker 28, and I guess you could say I'm learning a tough lesson about how quickly things can flip when you're not careful with your words. It all started at our friend Myron's apartment. She was hosting one of those prep parties before we all headed out downtown. You know, music's a little too loud. Drinks are already flowing, and everybody's just vibing in that perfect sweet spot before the night really starts. We were all gathered in the living room, half of us on the couch, the rest on the floor or leaning against the wall like we're still in college. That's when he walked in, Kenvin. I'm not going to lie. Kenvin's the kind of guy you notice because he's unnoticeable, if that makes sense. He's not bad looking, but he's not exactly anyone's first pick either, kind of lanky. Thick glasses, hair that never quite decides if it wants to be curly or straight. He's the guy you remember as, oh yeah, him, after you see a group photo the next day. Now for context, Kenvin's been in our friend group for a while, but he's always been the quiet one, chill, nice enough, but not exactly the guy you'd call to hype up the party. And for whatever reason, that night I was feeling extra bold. I think it was the tequila. Tequila always makes me feel funnier than I really am. So Kenvin walks in, holding his little six-pack of off-brand hard seltzers, looking like he's just happy to be included. And I don't know why, but I saw my shot and I took it. I was sitting on the couch, sandwiched between Mirren and my husband Bon. Everyone's already laughing about something completely unrelated, and I, being the self-proclaimed funny friend of the group, decided to add my little 2 cents. Wow, Kenvin, I said loud enough for everyone to hear. I see you finally dressed up for once. Who you trying to impress, huh? It got a few chuckles, not a big laugh, but it was enough. And you know how it is, once you get that first little reaction, you start chasing a bigger one. He smiled it off like, yeah, real funny, Maker. But I wasn't done. Don't play, Kenvin, I said, pointing at him with my drink like I'm a comedian working the crowd. We've known you for what, 3 years now? And not once have you ever shown up looking like anything other than someone's lost IT guy. Bigger laughs this time. Even Bon chuckled, and he's not one to laugh at everything. Now here's where I should have stopped if I was smart. If I was a good friend, I would have let it go right there. But nah. I had to double down. I leaned forward, squinting at him like I was examining him closely. I mean, for real, Kenvin. Did you finally get a stylist, or did you just lose a bet? More laughs, bigger this time. People covering their mouths, doing the, oh, she's wild kind of laugh. I felt like I was killing it. But when I glanced at Kenvin, he wasn't smiling anymore. He just nodded a little, like he was mentally taking notes. His lips pressed together tight. He looked at me for a second longer than usual before looking away. And that's when he stood up. He set his six-pack on the counter and took off his jacket. I didn't think much of it at first, but then he started unbuttoning his dress shirt, all slow and steady, like we were in a movie or something. The room got quiet, real fast, like awkwardly quiet. I heard Mirren say, what's happening right now? He didn't answer, didn't say a single word, just kept unbuttoning. 1 button, 2 buttons, 3. People started glancing at each other like, yo, is he good? I looked at Bon, and he had this face like, what did you do? At this point my heart started racing a little, but I played it cool. All right, Kenvin, you win. We get it. You can put your clothes back on now. I tried to laugh it off, like I was still in control of the moment. But I wasn't. Not anymore. Kenvin didn't say a word. He pulled off his shirt completely and tossed it on the chair like it didn't even matter. And listen, I don't know what I thought was under there. But it was definitely not that ... Kenvin was ripped. Not gym bro ripped. That lean, defined, natural kind of strong where every muscle looks carved in. Chest, arms, abs. It all looked like he walked out of a Marvel audition. Not a single person in that room expected it, including me. I felt my jaw actually drop a little. I couldn't stop staring. Neither could Mirren, or her boyfriend for that matter. Then Kenvin, still calm, still not saying a single word, picked up one of his seltzers, cracked it open, and leaned against the counter like nothing had just happened. The silence was deafening. No music, no talking, just the soft fizz of his drink as he sipped it. "Dang, Kenvin," Mirren finally said, and she wasn't joking. Somebody whistled. I don't even know who. Okay, I said, waving my hand like it was no big deal, trying to recover my dignity. You been doing P90X or something? He glanced at me for half a second, just enough to let me know he heard me. Then he sipped his drink and said, calm as ever, "Nah, just stayed quiet while you'll talk too much." Oof. Oh. I didn't even have a comeback. Nobody did. He ate with that line, the whole room went wild. The OHH, the he got you. The clapping, all of it. And I just had to sit there on that couch, sipping my watered-down margarita, knowing full well I had played myself ... He put his shirt back on slow and steady, just like he took it off, and I promise you, every button click sounded like a mic drop. I'll never forget what he said before he sat down. "Don't ask for the smoke if you're not ready to choke." I had to laugh at that one. I mean, what else could I do? He won. I knew it. Everyone knew it. Myron's boyfriend even gave him a fist bump like they'd just witnessed a moment in history. The rest of the night, any time I tried to tell a joke, somebody would say, "Careful, Maker Kenvin's here," like it was a warning. I'm not mad though, not really. If anything, I learned something that night. Sometimes the quiet ones, they're not quiet because they don't have anything to say. They're quiet because they're just waiting for you to slip up. And I slipped. Hard. All right. So after Kenvin basically turned the whole night into his personal highlight reel, I had to do what any self-respecting person would do in that situation. I laughed it off, pretended like it didn't bother me, and played it cool. But the truth, it bothered me. Not because I got roasted, I can handle that. I dish it out all the time. So I know I have to take it sometimes. But it was the way he did it, calm, calculated, and with zero hesitation. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't get flustered. He didn't try to win the moment. He just won. And that silence after, that was the loudest part. Anyway, we all eventually got back to normal. Music came back on. People started drinking again, and the awkward tension dissolved. Mirren even came up to me at one point and whispered, "Girl, he got you good," with that little mischievous grin like she was happy it wasn't her. I laughed it off again, but my mind kept drifting back to Kenvin. Here's the thing, and I'm just being honest here. I never really looked at him before. I mean, yeah, I knew Kenvin. I knew what he looked like, but I never really looked at him. Does that make sense? Like he was just always Kenvin from the group. But after that little stunt, I found myself sneaking glances at him all night. And let me tell you, now that I knew what was under that Target hoodie, I couldn't unsee it. I'd catch myself checking out his arms while he opened bottles, noticing how his shirt sleeves hugged his biceps just a little too perfectly. I know I'm married. Relax. I wasn't interested like that. It's just that once you realize someone's not who you thought they were, your brain kind of gets stuck on it for a bit. Bond didn't seem to care. He was too busy trying to convince Myron's boyfriend, David, that he could still dunk a basketball at 33. Spoiler alert. He cannot. That he was locked into that conversation, so he didn't even notice me being quiet for once. At one point, Kenvin and I ended up in the kitchen at the same time. I was pouring another drink, and he was grabbing something from the fridge. We were maybe 3 feet apart, and I could feel that we both knew what happened. That energy hanging in the air. I glanced over at him, and sure enough, he caught me looking. "You good, Maker?" he asked, all casual, like he didn't just humble me in front of the entire friend group. Yeah, I said, swirling the ice in my cup. "You think you're real slick, huh?" He tilted his head like he was actually thinking about it. Then he shrugged. "Not really. You'll just make it too easy sometimes." Oh, he was feeling himself now, and I can't even blame him. "You had that whole line ready to go, didn't you?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "Don't ask for the smoke if you're not ready to choke. Come on, Kenvin. You've been practicing that one in the mirror, huh?" He smiled, a real smile this time, not that quiet, polite one he always does. "Maybe," he said, cracking open another seltzer. "Or maybe I'm just tired of being the guy everyone thinks they can clown." "OF ... He said it so smooth, but I felt that one deep. I didn't even have a comeback for it. All I could say was, "Fair." We stood there for a second, just sipping our drinks in silence. Not awkward silence, though. It was that rare kind of quiet where you both know something shifted, but neither of you feels like pointing it out. "Low-key proud of you, though," I admitted, glancing up at him. "You definitely earned that one." He chuckled, taking another sip. "Appreciate it." And just like that, it felt like we'd reached some kind of unspoken truce. But here's where things started getting weird. The rest of the night was normal, more or less. We hit up a couple bars, danced, drank too much, and eventually ended up at a 24-hour diner for greasy food at 2 a.m., like we always do. Kenvin didn't do anything wild or out of character after that. No more big moments. Just the usual quiet Kenvin sitting in the booth, his head tilted back, staring at the ceiling like he was waiting for life to make sense. But for some reason, that night stuck with me. The next day I woke up with a headache the size of Texas, and Bourne was still knocked out next to me, snoring like his life depended on it. I rolled over, grabbed my phone, and did the usual scroll texts from Mirren. A bunch of blurry party pics, and a video of me laughing so hard I almost fell off the couch. Then I saw it, one of the videos Mirren sent was of Kenvin taking his shirt off. It wasn't the whole thing, just the part where people started gasping and shouting, "Wait, what?" I watched it 3 times, not because I was being weird, but because I was trying to understand why I felt so weird about it. It wasn't like I was attracted to him or anything. I love my husband, and Kenvin is still Kenvin. But seeing him in that new light, seeing how he controlled that whole room with silence, it made me realize something. I never saw him as a threat before. Not a threat like danger or anything, I mean in that social hierarchy kind of way. He was the safe guy, the quiet guy, the guy you could poke fun at without worrying he'd clap back. But now, I couldn't unsee the fact that he could clap back. And that made me think twice about all the other quiet guys I've written off. It didn't stop there. At the next hangout, it was like everyone saw him differently. The guys suddenly started dapping him up like he just got drafted into the NBA. Girls that never paid him attention were suddenly laughing a little too hard at his jokes. Even Mirren, who's been in a relationship with David for 4 years, did that stop shoulder push when Kenvin said something funny. I'm telling you, it was wild to watch. And me? I kept my mouth shut. Not because I was embarrassed. Okay, maybe a little. But mostly because I knew if I said anything, he'd have a comeback ready. I wasn't about to give him another moment like that. Not again. But the craziest part, Kenvin didn't milk it. He didn't act different. No cockiness, no attitude. He just stayed Kenvin cool, collected, still sipping his little off-brand seltzers like nothing changed. But I knew it had. We all did. Even now, every time we hang out, I catch myself looking at him like, what else you got in there? I wonder if he's been hiding more than just ABs. But I'm not going to ask, because I already know the answer. And I'm definitely not ready for the smoke. Thank you for listening until the end. Every story holds a piece of someone's truth. And maybe a piece of your own. If this touched you in any way, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartfelt stories. See you in the next video.